Good morning, everyone. We welcome you to another season of After Further Review here on WKYC.com. Also on our WKYC app, Facebook Live, and YouTube. I'm Dave DeNatale. We'll be joined every Monday or every morning after a Browns game by a revolving cast of stars. And I'm very pleased to bring in my man, Ben Axelrod, fellow 3 News digital sports reporter. And Ben, you covered the game yesterday and watched it very closely. 38-6 was the finals. The Browns lost to the Ravens. I guess for me, I wasn't surprised about the loss. I guess I was surprised how far the Browns still have to go to get where they need to go in 2020.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is this was a game the Browns were supposed to lose. You look at the point spread, they were a touchdown underdog, an 8-point underdog. I mean, the way that this offseason set up, it could not have been any worse of an offseason for the Browns in terms of lack of continuity and, everything with the coronavirus pandemic and the short, the shortened offseason, shortened training camp, now any of the preseason games. But to lose in the fashion that they did, there's no excuses for that. There's no justification for that. And I think that's what was most concerning, was just how much this offense, I'd say in particular, this offense looked like the same offense from a year ago.
Well, you can just see popping on Jay Crawford, sporting a Bowling Green outfit, which makes my heart feel, full of life and warmth this morning, because I need the warmth, Jay Crawford. You've just posted a column at WKYC.com, and essentially the more things change, the more things stayed the same in your eyes watching the Browns yesterday.
Yeah, Dino, Ben, how are you guys? For those that haven't read the column, I'll just give you the underlying theme of it is, we go through this wash, rinse, repeat cycle every year or two where we decide that it must be the uniforms. Oh, wait, no, it must be the coaching staff. Oh, wait, no, it must be the overall direction or the general manager. So we change and we change and we change and we change. And there's only one constant, and that's the result. And I'm willing to give the Browns a ton of slack here. I mean, these are just ridiculous times. You're handicapped from jump in that you have to go to one of the best teams in the NFL to open your season. You face the reigning MVP. You have a new coaching staff. You haven't had any opportunity to test your offense in a preseason game. You're depleted with injuries on defense and losses. And so here you go have at it. So I'll start by saying I didn't expect to win yesterday, not by any stretch. In fact, I assumed that the Browns would lose by double digits. What I didn't expect to see, though, was an absolute train wreck on offense. And I know that's a strong word for week one because we weren't given the preseason. But you give me Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry. Now you've got one of the game's best tight ends. By the way, Njoku made probably our best highlight play of the day, an incredible catch. A running back tandem of Hunt and Chubb. All of these weapons, and you give them 6 points. Inexplicable. Absolutely. I just I can't even begin to go where I want to go right now. What I will say is, I thought the game, even though they, gifted Baltimore 10 points with 2 quick turnovers, I thought the turning point was there were 2. 1st and 10 on the 29, and then before you know it, it's 4th and 41. That was a 13-play, 28-yard drive. Do the math on that. That's virtually impossible. They did it. And then the other turning point was the Odell Beckham drop on 3rd and 2. Paid far too many dollars to drop that ball. Can't drop it there. We missed the field goal. They marched down the field in 35 seconds, game over, even before halftime. So I think that was my biggest disappointment. Don't know what the answer is. Far too early to say that, we made a mistake with Stefanski. Good Lord, it's been one game. But I was a little flummoxed. I want to get your guys' thoughts on the fake punt. I wrote this in my piece. Those kind of plays are held close to the vest. You work on those plays and you have confidence that they're going to work, and you use them in a situation that typically turns a game. It's 7-0 in the first quarter, and we're faking a punt, giving Baltimore, one of the best offenses in football, a 20-yard field. That didn't make any sense to me at all. And that was his first critical in-game decision. I for the life of me, I can't figure that one out.
Ben, what was your thought when you saw that play unfold?
Yeah, I mean, it was totally jarring. And that's, second offensive drive of the game coming off an interception, and a touchdown. It's baffling. And it's one of those things that I don't know if he was out thinking the room. I don't know if it's something where, for whatever reason, the Scottish Hammer had a call where he has the leeway to do that if he sees something, which even if he does, he shouldn't have that sort of leeway, at least not in that sort of spot. So, just one of those things that, they were fortunate that they only gave up a field goal and they were able to come back and score a touchdown on the next drive. But just one of those things where you're already dealing with such a small margin for error against this Ravens team, especially. I don't know how from your own 31-yard line you even risk putting yourself in that kind of position that early in the game.
And Ben, to your point, what I think I'm most disturbed about the decision-making process. So the risk and reward, that's a play that every special teams unit is prepared for, but they're more prepared for it once you use it, because they know, hey, they already know that a fake is always a possibility and they're prepared for that. But if you've shown once during the regular season that you're willing to do that, particularly in that situation, every punt we have for the rest of the year will be defended as if it could be a fake, even more than it normally would have. So let's weigh the risk and reward of that decision in that spot. Let's say he picks up the first down. Okay. Does that flip the game? And by the way, you still have 65 yards to go to score a touchdown. It's not like, that decision is going to flip the whole game on its ear. I was very concerned about the risk and reward and how it weighed into that, making that decision in that spot. I'm very troubled by that. And again, it's far too early to start casting, blanket judgments on what Stefanski's going to be as a head coach or a play caller. Way too early for that. Look, they could go out Thursday, drop 37 on the Bengals, and start to hide some of the warts that we saw on Sunday. And that's, by the way, that's a very distinct possibility. I'm not saying they're going to, but I wouldn't be shocked if we did have an offensive explosion. But I mean, this all goes into the ball of string, if you will. And it wasn't a good first impression.
Guys, and Jay, you mentioned as one of the turning points the Beckham drop there in the second quarter. Browns don't end up getting any points because of the missed field goal. We'll get to that in a second too. But are you guys concerned about, we're now in year 2 of Baker Mayfield with OBJ, and the chemistry, the cohesion between quarterback and star wide receiver just, again, doesn't seem to be there. And the Browns really tried, probably to a fault yesterday, to force it, and it's still not there.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm concerned about a lot of things with Baker Mayfield at this point. I'm concerned about the turnovers. He only had 1 interception yesterday, but certainly had the opportunity to have at least 2, if not another. And then, the Odell thing, it's year 2 now. They still haven't figured that out. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, I think that's a larger discussion we'll probably have to have. But as far as Odell, yeah, it seems like for whatever reason that he just can't get in the flow of the offense. They're either forcing it to him to a fault, or he's completely uninvolved. And they have to find some sort of happy medium where he's just a consistent flow and a consistent piece of this offense. And I don't know how they make that happen.
I'd like to ask each of you guys a question. Dino, you can start, you can answer, and then Ben, I want your answer. How concerned were you yesterday with each Odell Beckham cutaway that was taken? What was your thought when they were showing Odell Beckham on the sidelines? What was your immediate thought, Dino?
My immediate thought was, is he hurt? Number one,
okay.
Because he's been fragile the last couple of years, and obviously
sure.
we know he played last year hurt. So that was my first thought. Oh, is he not 100%? And then number two is he upset because he's not getting the ball and they're taking him out? He's complaining or whatever, and then sending him back in.
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, the body language was not great, and I think that might be an understatement. I'm really curious to see how this plays out this season, and I'm very curious, if this season falls off the rails, and again, it's only one game, but after this, and look, big game on Thursday night, a game against the Washington football team a week after that, who won their opener, and then a tough stretch against teams like the Cowboys, Colts, and Steelers. If this season falls off the rails, this Odell thing gets really interesting in terms of how this plays out and whether or not he's, a long-term piece of this team moving forward, and maybe even throughout the remainder of this season.
Maybe I was viewing it differently. Each time they showed him on the sideline, I felt like I was staring at that volcano that's timed to erupt any second. And that was my fear. Oh, God, he's going to rip the helmet off and he's going to start laying into somebody. He's going to be a disruptive force on the sideline. How many times during yesterday's game were replays rolled in of Odell being wide open, waving his arm, and we just missed him?
I saw a number of them, right? I mean, and that's, again, it goes to why he and Baker aren't on, the same page, where, Jarvis Landry, no problem. That's been a connection that's worked ever since Landry and Mayfield got together 2 years ago. But I'm concerned. Yeah, Jay, I thought, now that you say that, I can remember there was one where Beckham was on the left side and going, "Hey, I'm open. Mayfield.
That was the one that comes to mind for me. My point in bringing that up was, I don't think there were multiple times where he's running free and wide open and Baker just didn't see him. I felt like, just like last year, and again, I think this is all an effort to keep him as a productive citizen, keep him happy. I thought there was too big of an effort to force the ball into him. If he's open, he gets the football. That should be the way it goes. If he's a primary receiver on a play call, of course he should be. He's your big threat. But I just, for the life of me, can't figure out why we can't get this superstar talent more involved in our offense. And so how is it that the equation doesn't add up to the sum of all of our parts? Chubb, Hunt, Landry, Beckham, Hooper. What if you gave those 5 pieces to another offensive coordinator in the league? Do you think that they would get just 6 points? I don't know how we did that. I don't know how you do that. I don't. And we watched it last year, and here we go again.
I think that's the most concerning part, is there was this idea that a year ago, Freddie Kitchens was the issue with everything, that once they get Freddie Kitchens out of there and bring in anybody else to be the new head coach, that this offense is going to be rolling. And clearly that's not what the solution was. Clearly there is a bigger issue on this offense beyond the play design, who's calling the plays, and who the head coach is. And I think that was, like we said, I think all 3 of us expected them to lose, but that was the most concerning part, is that so much of it, especially on the offensive side of the ball, looked like a year ago.
Yeah.
We got questions
and that's
here.
why my headline was, new uniforms, new coaching staff, new season, same results. Like at some point, it just gets so exhausting to be a fan of this football team God help anybody that doesn't believe and understand that this fan base is the best in all of sports. We have been kicked, punched, slapped, mutilated, embarrassed, denigrated, humiliated, and here we are. And guess what? I'm going to turn on the TV Thursday night at 8:20, and I'm going to root like my life depended on it, because that's what we do. And if there was a magic button I could push to make me not care as much as I do, I'd push it, because it's illogical to root for something that is this abusive to you. I like it. I often liken it to staying in an abusive relationship far too long. At some point, you would think logic would kick in, but this fan base we have such short memories. Sunday to Thursday, an embarrassment on Sunday. Who won't be in front of their TV Thursday rooting for them like it's a playoff game? That's what we do.
That's the name. I mean, I did see a few people on Twitter yesterday were like, okay, well, I'm going to go mow the lawn now, or this, that, and the other thing. But they're going to be back Thursday. You're absolutely right. They will be back.
And you know what? In part, guys, I hate to say it, but we are the enabler, okay? We are the enabler in the relationship. We are enabling the abuser to continue the abuse because we spend our money and we support and we root and we cheer. And if we were less of a fan base and we divorced ourselves from the debacle, you would force the system to change. They would have to change because it's sink or swim. If you don't have fans and you don't have people that are willing to pay top dollar for your product, then you cease to exist. So you put external pressure on the internal mechanism of the relationship to improve. And to date, we haven't done that. And I don't know that we're capable. I'm only speaking of myself. I'm not capable of it. I say the words in my mind every Sunday. This is it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Why do I keep coming back? And then the next Sunday rolls around, or in this case, the next Thursday rolls around. And there I'll be, enabling my team to continue to be what they've been since the rebirth.
Hey, Ben, that's the Michael Corleone effect, right?
Right. Yeah. The only thing I would disagree with is you said it would be sink or swim. I think the evidence would show they would just sink. I mean, that's the struggles for this Browns team hasn't been for a lack of effort in terms of getting it right. I mean, to your point, they've changed coaches. They've changed.
Oh, no, Ben, don't mistake what I'm saying. And they would absolutely sink. But my point is, you just brought it up. I have no doubt this organization wants desperately to turn it around. Look, I want a space shuttle, but I'm not going to get one in my backyard by wishing for it. Okay? And that's my point, Ben. I give the Haslams this. They don't want this disaster. No. As embarrassing as it is for us, they own it. They're in the dumpster rolling down the street on fire. We just have to stand there and watch it. They're inside of it. So I have no doubt that this family and this organization wants, with all of its being, to not be bad and to be the team that this fan base deserves. I've never doubted that. With each new coach news conference, we hear that. I'm not insinuating or even dancing around the idea that they're doing this on purpose. It's what they know. As much as they want to get it right, the track record is, from proof, they can't. They haven't. And how many chances do we as the fan base give them to get it right? And again, I want to backtrack to my earlier comments. I'm not saying they didn't get it right this time. I'm just saying they haven't gotten it right with the previous efforts. We know that. That's the track record. So about 2 coaches ago, they stopped with me getting the benefit of the doubt that they're going to get it right this time. That benefit of the doubt is evaporated because we have too long of a track record of history. You are what your record says you are. And their record of trying to get out of this hole is horrible, despite the fact that the system is set up for no team to live in the basement for as long as we have. It's supposed to be cyclical. Every 7 years, the talent cycle should wash itself through the league. When you're horrible, you pick early. But when you're horrible and you pick early and you don't get those picks right, you stay horrible. And that's what we've done. And so as badly as they want to get this right, their track record is they haven't. So we're led to believe they can't. And so if we get to the point in the future where it's obvious to everyone at last year that Freddie wasn't. I mean, I think everybody can agree. It was pretty obvious really early on. No, this one's not the one either. So we rode out the season. We made the change. At some point, and I hope we don't get there, if we get to the point where everybody is in agreement that we got it wrong again, at some point, we have to have somebody else come in to make these decisions, because the current decision makers have proven time and again that they're unable to fix the situation. And I hope they got it right this time. I'm not saying they didn't, but all I'll say is it certainly wasn't a good first impression.
No, what reminded me, Jay, was you brought up the fake punt when we started. Hugh Jackson tried that his first game too.
I know he did,
and it didn't work.
It's exactly what I thought of. Exactly.
I mean, more things changed, more things stayed the same. Real quick questions on Facebook Live for you guys. Dean says, why is it that the offensive side of the ball yesterday didn't fight? What happened to the terrific running game that we're supposed to have?
I think they just fell behind too big, too early. I mean, that game was pretty much over by the start of the third quarter, or at least after the first offensive drive for the Ravens in the start of the first quarter. But yeah, I mean, that was supposed to be this team's identity. But even when you go down 10-0, you're just putting yourself behind the 8 ball. I think that's why we saw more Kareem Hunt than we did Nick Chubb, because you were in so many obvious passing situations. And that's when you would typically have Kareem Hunt on the field.
Yeah, you fall down 24-6, and you take your Pro Bowl running back, who's, to your point, a running back and not a more diverse pass catcher out of the backfield. You take him off the field. He's out of the equation now. And then when you fall down 31-6, you're looking for the 25-point play that doesn't exist. And so it's easy to see why the whole thing came unraveled for the offense yesterday. I talked about the two turning points. The 1st and 10 at the 29, which turned into the 4th and 41. That was turning point number one, because we could overcome the early pick. We could overcome the fake punt. But I thought when we turned the sure points, which would have made it 10-9, even if assuming we make the field goal, and that's a whole nother issue, by the way. But even if you just get a field goal there, and you're 1st and 10 on the 29, if you take 3 knees, you get to try a 46-yard field goal. Instead, it's 4th and 41. And even though, and then we do something good, we pin them down on the 1-yard line, and then 99 yards and 10 plays later, Baltimore's in the end zone. That's right. When you're saying, okay, you can't even take something that's gifted to you and do anything with it. You keep them in jail there, force them to a 3 and out, get the ball back at midfield. Then you keep the offense involved and interested. So at 17-6, then when Beckham drops the easy two-hander 2 yards from his face, he drops that ball, and then Baltimore scores in 35 seconds. 35 seconds. Now it's over. So, Ben, you're right. 24-6 coming out of the locker room, and they get the ball to start the second half. Good night. I mean, it's just too big of a hole to dig out of. And I know we quit last year on our opener when we fell down big to Tennessee. Is that baked into this cake? Is that part of this team's DNA? Because I didn't see a whole lot of fight yesterday. I didn't see a lot of guys that were anxious to earn a paycheck when it was 31-6 on either side of the ball.
Yeah, you're right. That was a big, criticism of Freddie last year, was that, couldn't motivate his guys to fight. Well, yeah, we didn't see that first impression. Last thing, bigger concern when you look at the defense, linebackers or the secondary?
Yes. Go ahead, Ben.
I mean, that was tough to watch.
I think secondary is the concern, because I think that's where they've actually invested in this team. They haven't invested in their linebackers. And you look at, they're now an analytically driven team again. The analytics don't like investing in linebackers. That's why you let Joe Schobert walk. Obviously, it took a hit when Max Wilson got hurt, but the secondary, they've invested. I mean, Denzel Ward is a top 5 pick. Terrence Mitchell is a guy at least a few years ago who they paid decent money in free agency. You bring in Ronnie Harrison in a trade with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, these linebackers, they're not going to be able to hang with the guys like Mark Andrews and down the line, Travis Kelce and George Kittle and some of the top tight ends. But the secondary, you need the secondary to play better for this entire scheme to work. And the fact that they didn't play better yesterday, I think that's a major concern.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I don't want to take the spotlight off our glaring weakness in the middle either. I mean, so one unit's an F and the other one's a D-, but they're both woefully inadequate. And by the way, you touched on it, Ben. I wasn't going to bring it up, but the whole analytics deal, can we just kind of flush that whole project down the toilet? And I'm not saying throw analytics out. There's no place in the game for them. Clearly, this organization has prioritized them to the extent of they went out and got one of the other sports' top analytic minds. Still a questionable move. Analytics has to play a part in what you're doing today. I mean, if it doesn't, you have no chance to win. But it can't drive the bus. It just can't. And we are letting analytics drive the bus. Like, for instance, I know Schobert was probably too expensive for us to keep around, but it was clear from the analytics people that they place no value on 100 plus tackles a season. Someone's got to make tackles, and Schobert was always had his nose around the ball, but this analytics system devalues a player like that to the point where you let him go. As I was watching the game yesterday, I wouldn't have made a dramatic difference, but we don't have that guy right now. Right. And I don't know that he's walking through the door anytime soon. And, I just think the investment to go all in, and again, the organization last offseason had a chance to kind of pick which direction are we going? Are we going analytics? Are we going more of a mix and a feel? And Dorsey's out the door and Kitchen's out the door. Those traditional, let my eyes tell me the story guys. And the guy that stuck around was DePodesta, who is using the calculator. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I don't know how many years you give an experiment like this, but man, it's not working. It's just not working.
Everybody gets their turn to have the voice of the Haslams, and it's his turn right now.
And you're right. And I think the last voice in the ear might be the loudest.
Yes,
and,
I've always felt that.
That's probably a big part of the problem here. I seriously think that's part of the problem.
All right, guys, this was fun. This was not fun to talk about a loss, but I really appreciate both of you guys joining us this morning for the premiere edition of After Further Review. We will look forward to getting your insights on the morning after game days throughout the year, and hopefully we will have better things to talk about as the year progresses. But I appreciate both of you guys jumping on this morning.